Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Vic.
I'm Nick.
And we're MV Board Gaming. And today we're looking at Kutna Hora. This is a game designed by Andrei Bistronia, Petr Chaslova, and Pavel Yarosh. And it's published by Czech Games Edition. Nick is going to go through how you play, and then we're going to give our reviews.
2 to 4 players. Let's go. All right, welcome to the table. We're set up here for a 2-player game of Kutna Hora, the City of Silver. All right, so this is a game that is an action selection game. We're going to play in a 2-player game for our setup. We play 6 rounds. Otherwise, we'd be playing 5 rounds in a 3 or 4-player game. We also have variable setup for a 2-player game. These are double-sided boards. It shows what player counts in the top left right there of the board to show you what kind of game you're going to play. So this is a smaller map for a 2-player game. And up here, same thing. These fit together like a puzzle. So a 2-player game has a smaller map on both sections. On your turn, so we do 6 rounds. A round will be 5 actions total, and on your turn you're going to do 2 actions. Then when it comes back to you, you're going to do 2 actions again, and then you're going to do 1 action. So 5 actions in total. So these cards here are how we're going to show our actions. We have 2 choices on each card. So we could play either one. We could do rights, income. Joker would be any action available to us, but you will lose reputation when you do that. We can plot, we can mine, build, or St. Barbara action. So I will go over each of those actions now in this brief overview. So before I do, I'm going to show you my player board here. So we're set up with some buildings over here, some miners. One of them is in the queue, ready to go to the mines. We have a reputation track on the board. We have what we produce, right now nothing, but as we build things out, that will give us some production. We have our plots here at the top left, and storage for buildings we have the rights to build. So that is a little look at our board, and these are the guilds. This is going to be variable. You're going to draw a card at the beginning that will show you which of these guilds you will have acquired just to start. So that gives us the rights to build from those types of buildings over here. So right now I have 3 different ones, and I will look for the icon on those. Those I can, or the ones I can build. My opponent in a 2-player game has 3 different ones. They will not have any of the same. We will not share any of the same guilds. If we had a higher player count, we would share some of those. Would be fighting over some of that. All right, so let's go over each action. And the order, I don't think it really matters. So, you know what, maybe it will. Let's do plot first. I'm going to do the plot action. Since there is no, this will be the first thing on our board, our very first plot, it's going to cost 5 coins. We start, the first player starts with 40 of the coins. They do have a name, but I was going to call them coins for purpose of this. So it'll cost me 5, spend that, and then I can put one of my plots down anywhere I want on there. That will give me rights to later build on that plot. So we have some thought that goes into this. We have some symbology. So we kind of want buildings that share symbols with those areas. So if which I do, I have this guild here, and let's say I'm thinking about building that sawmill. I will want to build probably adjacent to this red or yellow icon, because the red and the yellow icon on the building I'm planning to build. So I'm going to put there for 5 coins next to the red. All right, that is all it is. That is your plot. Now, what would flow nicely is rights. So my plan was to get that sawmill. So the rights show the cost at the bottom. Right here, this is the cheapest one, 1 single coin. So I will pay 1 coin, and I will store this in that building area of my board. So I do not put it out just yet. Then when I do that, this cycles to the end, and these push up, because it costs more now over here. I'm going to knock everything over. All right. So let's say I wanted to do, instead of that, let's say I wanted to, I don't know, we want to do this one instead. That's going to cost 1 of these, and this is going to be an economy of the game. So I look for that symbol right here. It's going to cost me 4 coins instead of 1. So that cost is measured in this dynamic economy. All right, so that is a rights action, acquiring one of these and then sliding the rest down. All right, so we're done with plot and rights. Now I think the next thing that flows is building. So I want to build that sawmill now. The cost shows 4 building, so it does not mean 4 coins. It's about what the value of building is, that material, those boxes. So I'm going to look at this market, and I'm going to see that it is 2. 2 times 4, I owe 8 coins. So 8 coins, pay that to the bank, and then when I pay that, I can wipe out that plot and put my building there instead of the plot. I take the plot right back to the top left of my board where I store my plots. Then it shows exactly what I can do. So I'm going to move up 3 on this track in my income. Put that back for a second. Show my board again. So I look at that guild. It's this one. I can move 3. And this will be come into play on the income phase when I select the income action. But for right now, I just move that 3. Next, it says to slide that track over to the right. So I look for that track right here. It slides over to the right, which now signifies it is actually cheaper to build the buildings. But you cannot build one of these types of buildings anymore because the town doesn't need it. So you have to wait until this changes, and it will. For instance, it's going to change a little bit right now because, so we did this, now we do this. We're going to influence the population by 1. And to do that, we simply draw this card and put it back at the bottom of that pile. Okay, that's all that means. So occasionally you'll see that. That just means to put a card back behind it. If this were a 3 black, we would do the same concept. We would draw 3 1 by 1 by 1, and then this would change. So sometimes they don't change as you just saw, but there you go. When they do change, immediately you'll see that asterisk right there to display that, hey, that value has changed because of that card flip. So this is how that works. Okay. And that was building. I built that, I paid the cost, and I got the bonus. Some things to consider when you're building, like I said, you want to manage those points. So I matched the red with another red. That's going to give me points. It's going to give me points at the end for adjacency, orthogonally adjacent, the same symbols. So I want to be next to red and yellow with this, and that will give me more points. When I build these, I remove the house associated. So in this case, I'm going to show ownership by removing this, and it will give me an instant bonus, which is, in this case, 1 reputation. And I am going to put my house right there and move my reputation on my board 1 space to the right. This will give me points if I go far enough right over here for reputation. And it will also give me benefits during the game, like plots only costing $1 and so forth. And then the other one was jokers and not losing reputation. All right, so that is building. Next, let's do income. Income is going to give us coins based on what we have and our income tracks. In this case, you saw that I did this, so this would not be a great time to do income. So let's do a better example. Let's say I'm at 3, 3, and 3. Sorry, 3, 3, and 3. So there you go. So I'm at 3 on this one. So 3 times 4, because you see the value, that's 4. So 3 times 4, I get 12 coins for this. I would get 3 times only 1 for that, so 3 coins for that. And then I would get 3 times 3 for the coal track right there, so another 9 coins. And that's income. You can optionally as well, as signified right here, spend 10 coins to add up attrition to the pool over here. I didn't clear it out because we just played, but these actually don't exist yet. But if you want to add up attrition to the main pool, it will from the pool out to this area, you will spend 10 coins to do that. Now those get into the pool by virtue often of these public buildings. So public buildings, they're not technically yours, as the name implies, but they do give you benefits right away. You just will not be putting one of your houses on those. They will be public, both players can use those technically, but you want to place them to your advantage and get the benefits of those. And they also put those patricians in the pool. The patricians give you different benefits as victory points between rounds. We'll count those later in the game. So in this game, it is rounds 4, 5, and 6. We start doing the patrician scoring whenever there are patricians there. And they have various. I'm not going to go over all the scoring on those. All right, next thing we'll go over, we did income, which was pretty simple. You just get your money. Now we're going to go to mines. So mines, we need to have miners. Luckily, we start with one miner ready to go in our queue, so this one will be simple. Otherwise, we would have to pay a little bit to get 2 miners on over there. But we start with one, and we are in level 1 of the mines, so you're only going to draw 1. So these should be up on top. So we're only going to draw 1 and see what we get. So the cost, well, we have to start here. There's 2 pre-printed ones on there that ladder onto the mines. We'll have to pay 2 times whatever value is shown. In this case, it's 1, so it'll only be 2 coins, and I can now put one of the miners on one of those 2 spaces. I will get the bonus of income on the coal track by 2, and then, like I said, the card will cycle twice, and that's the black card I mentioned that you might see. In this case, there are no stars on here, but that's primarily how this is going to be scored. At the end of the game, you're going to get points based on the star value in rows. Also, majority. So in a 2-player game, if I had this row, the majority of the people in this row, the majority of miners, and we'll say it had 5 stars, that would trigger off this at the end. So 5 stars would be this threshold. I would get 4 points, and as long as my opponent has something in that row, they will get a point. Otherwise, they'll get nothing. And so on. If it was 7+ stars, if it was only 0 to 3 stars, I would get 2 points if I was winning the row, and my opponent would get 0. So that's pretty easy to understand. There's also a card that it designates where these spots that are put out here at the beginning, where they go. So this will be kind of random. So you can see this row already has 3 stars. So this one will be a nice one because as long as you at least get 1 more star, you'll reach a new threshold. All right, that is mining. And we have the St. Barbara action right here. And that would do it. So last action I will have to show. And I'm going to move the camera down just a little bit because I put the St. Barbara here at the bottom right there. So you will spend a pelican, assuming you have a pelican, and you often get those from public buildings. You can see in the public buildings, if I go over here, there's one right there. So as long as you have one in your supply, you will flip it, and you will trigger off the first one to go. So this one would be this one. So we would get 2 reputations. So they all have different things. We go left or right, bottom to top. So there are quite a few that we're going to do. They will also increase taxes, which I'm going to go over at the end of round stuff. But yeah, you're just going to get the first one available, and it will flip. So I increased my reputation by 2. This is now exhausted. I do keep this, but it is exhausted. So let me put the camera right back where it was. Move that up just a little bit because we're going to talk about end of round stuff. Also, I want to mention, in a 2-player game, we use these events. So at the beginning of the round, technically, the tax would go up twice. This tax is tracked right here. And then it will have some stuff for end of round stuff down here. So we would just follow through this at the end of the round. So these happen in a 2-player game all the way up to round 5. All right, so end of round. End of round, we're going to look at our taxes. So if this is the case, we're going to have to pay 2 coins to the bank in order to pay our taxes. If we decide we don't want to or we simply cannot, we do lose 1 reputation. In some rounds, you'll have to do a little bit extra stuff, but the first 3 rounds, you don't for the 2-player game. We're going to have extra partitions that come out for the red ones. They'll come out in this row after the 3rd round, right here as shown. Again, this is all the 2-player board. And then in the 4th round and on, it's saying that we're going to score patricians. So if any patricians are out, there are multipliers and there are conditions for that. And both players can score it regardless of who put the patrician out. And there you go. We're going to play 6 rounds. And like I said, every round is going to be the same in that we're going to play our 5 actions. And that is how you play Kutna Hora.
All right. Thank you, Nick, for the great overview of how you play Kutna Hora. So let's just jump right into it. We've played this game now at 2 mostly, and also we had a 4-player experience of it. So let's talk about that. Let's.
Okay, the 2 versus the 4-player. We've played, since you said we played it more at 2. I do like it a little bit more at 4 because you are competing in the same guilds, so things can change a little bit more frequently.
Yeah.
What it does at 2 players is it introduces events, which does change the economy a little bit. We reveal these at the start of every round, and it will change the tax. Maybe it'll change what happens at the end of round, things like that. I like the 4-player experience a little bit more. Yes, obviously a 2-player experience is going to be a little quicker, although there is 6 rounds in 2-player games, so there is that versus 5 in a 4-player. But just the fact that in a 2-player game, we're never competing for the same guilds. We always have different guilds. There's nothing too interesting about that. I don't have to worry about you taking one of the rights to one of my buildings at all at any point, and neither do you. So I like the 4-player experience a little bit more. What about you?
I like the tension that adds as well, and the mines, and just having the extra people that take up spaces or plot where you were going to plot just makes it more exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing wrong with the 2-player experience. I had fun going through that with you. So, table presence. What did you think when you unpacked it? When you looked at the box and everything like that? Very dark game.
Yeah. So aside, let's put the components to one side. The board itself looks very dry. It looks like this isn't going to have good components. It looks like going to be an old school type game. But then we bring in the components. I love the components. I love your player board so much. I love all those pieces, the houses, so the miners, everything there that you have on your player board. Super nice. I love it. The components themselves are nice across the board, actually, because even these tiles that you put out are good. They're good thickness. There's nothing flimsy about them. It feels thick enough that I don't have any complaints really with any of the components. Yes, it is dark, but the things you're getting in here are high quality.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's got silver finishes to the cards. That's really nice. Like, there's a nice shine to them. I don't know how to quite explain it.
Yeah, it's not a foil, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a foil on the front of the like the action cards. When you have there's a nice design to it. Okay. On the actual.
Yeah, the borders.
Anyway, I like that it has little touches of shine and where it needs to, and it's very clean. Like, I don't think it's too crowded. The symbology was really easy to pick up on, especially since there's a really good reference sheet for us to know the actions, the end score. I mean, it's got everything. You don't really have to look at the rule book much because it is on that sheet. If you flip it over, it's got all the St. Barbara actions. It's got anything that you're like, what is that? Oh, just it's on the sheet.
Yeah, good point. It's pretty for a game that might be a little rules heavy. You don't really reference that rule book because you have the cheat sheet for all your needs. And once you get the general idea of what actions do what, and there's not that many actions to pick from. Not a ton of actions. You learn it and it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and it is the interesting decision. I guess we can just roll into some of the game mechanisms. The interesting decisions made when you are deciding about the cards you're going to use, but you're not limited so that if you played a card, you're never going to get it back till you do this crazy reset action, or you have to do an income in order to get your cards back. That's not the case. There's Joker actions, and that can be something you can build up a reputation, and it doesn't hurt as much to use that Joker when you get to a certain threshold. I like those things baked into it. It's really cool how you're deciding based on cards on your actions.
Yeah, it's simple. You're going to use 5 of your 6 actions per round, and it's pretty straightforward. The only thing you have to think about is the action you do want to use. I mean, some actions, like the St. Barbara, only has 1 card. So if you want to do the action, let's say the rights action, and you plan on doing the St. Barbara action later in the game, you're going to say, you know what, I don't want to use this rights action. I want to use a different card that has rights on it. Because the other ones have 2 actions, that 2 separate cards for those actions. So there is something to consider. You don't just say, I want to do rights, I'm going to do this card. You look at the card. It's double sided. It's like there's 2 sides to it. Maybe I don't want to use this one. I want to tuck this one away because I want the income or whatever it might be. And the money is kind of tight until later in the game.
Yeah.
Especially if you try to go the route where you get a public building early. If you get a public building early, since you don't own those buildings, it is hard to get income early. So usually you're going to do public buildings later in the game if you can. try to hold off and get some income with the guild buildings.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about those guild buildings is this game doesn't reward you for just focusing on a certain guild and buffing it up. It actually hurts you to do that because the things are going to be worth less and less in that. So your income won't be that fruitful. So this game does encourage you to diversify. I found that to actually be a negative because sometimes I want to do, I don't know, I just want to really focus on something. I want to get this one really strong, but it doesn't turn out to be that way. It doesn't turn out to be very strong. It's actually very weak. Mm-hmm. So thematically, I guess that makes some sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean because I even felt it was when you're only doing an income on one type of guild or one type of building type, you're not going to make the money you need, and there is so many things that are going to cost you, and then that leads to like mechanisms that they've added, like I mentioned with the reputation, having a reputation where I could pay $1 to plot my stuff when I got that was awesome. That was so good because that really helps. So I like the thing. It's very thoughtful in they didn't just give you actions, they gave you also ways to move around the tightness that they've given you in the game.
How do you feel about these mechanics? Does it remind you of anything? Do you enjoy it for what it is?
Yeah, I enjoy it for what it is. It's hard for me to recall exactly what it reminds me of. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't really know what it could be like, but I do always enjoy tile placement, like building out city building games. I really enjoy that. So throwing that in there, you're going to get me to be high on you if you do that. If you throw a city building mechanism, I do the mines. I tend to stay away from that part of the game. But it just reminds me of a game that I've enjoyed where you don't have to do everything, absolutely, all the actions to be successful in it. But you can, find your different paths to victory, different strategies.
Okay.
What does it remind you of?
I'm not going to say Clans of Caledonia because this is much more economic than Clans is. Clans does have the fluctuating market but that's just supply and demand. This has that, but it's more complex of that system. It's more heavy in the monetary than the Clans of Caledonia. I have not played Indonesia. I know that's a very popular economic type game as well, so I could not compare. City of Big Shoulders, another one I haven't tried, that would be a heavier economic game. So I don't have quite the frame of reference to know if this is similar to those games. I just know those are other heavy economic games that I have not yet tried. So I wouldn't say this reminds me of anything necessarily. It has action selection of the cards. That's something I've seen before, but these tiles and these guilds, throwing these buildings out and giving points based upon adjacency. Yes, the adjacency isn't very clever. You're getting points based upon the color and the symbol of it next to the thing. I don't really, it's okay. The scoring is a little tiresome where you're counting circles next to things. It's kind of like, and I'm tracking them. All right, 1, 2, 3. You get 4 points for that one. 1, 2, 3. All right, you get 2 points or whatever. That's something I don't care for necessarily, going through the points in the final. You're curious because the one thing you don't know is who won. That's one good thing. You don't know who won the game until the game's over and you're doing your final scoring. So it's not like, hey, I'm blowing you out of the water. Well, it doesn't matter. We have plenty of scoring to do. We got to do the mines. We got to do the main board. And we got to do the patricians, and that's after every late round. So there are things that it is a benefit to not knowing the score until the end, and as far as the scoring. But this game is math heavy. You're doing your income. It becomes very math heavy. You're doing your points at the end. Comes a lot of numbers, a lot of numbers, a lot of adding.
Oh yeah, I kept having to add like odd numbers together. I'm like, so 4 times 14, okay? And I'm saying Nick's trying to plan his turn, and I'm just like throwing numbers out for my income because it's my world, everyone just lives in it. But I was saying to him, I said 4 times 14, and then now plus, this plus 12, 6 times, whatever it is. It's a math thing, and I'm just shouting out equations to him, and when I'm doing my income, trying to add those numbers together, and then hoping that you didn't miss something, forget to, but that is easily resolved when you look at the tiles, the guild tiles out there. It's not too hard to, backtrack and figure out.
I mean, there's math all over. Even just buying a building. All right, it's 4. What's the market? Times 4. All right, 16. You owe $16. Or the currency, 16 coins.
And it was pretty thrilling, though. Sometimes he would tell me the number I owed, and I looked down, I'm like, yes, I got it.
Just enough.
Because I had no idea what I was looking at. I'm like, I'm building. Oh, yeah, how much was it? Yeah, so that's a thing in this game. You can't go without mentioning that. But I do love the little slideys of the market while it's so aesthetically pleasing.
Very cool. Those are very cool.
Yeah. I love that part of it. So I guess we touched on components, the mechanisms. I think we said enough really about how the game plays.
Yeah, the graphic design is very good. You hinted on understanding things. It makes sense when you pick up this tile. You know exactly what they're saying because you're so used to it. Like, okay, I get 4 of this in my income track, and I have to move the slider over to the right ones.
Yeah.
The symbology is very good. I love it. Tax. I mean, everyone hates tax, so that's something you have to be aware of. It's kind of like feeding your people in a lot of games. Where you have to pay a tax or lose reputation. Reputation is pretty nice because it gives you a lot of benefits. It also can give you points. It also can lose you points. It just depends what you want to do with that. Essentially, you're only going to really go down on the reputation when you use your joker. That's the most common way of going down the reputation. The other way is not paying your taxes. That will lose your reputation in the long arm of the government.
So, Nick, I wonder, what do you further to the mechanisms? What did you think of the patrician getting those out and putting them on the council? And so, not only having to play a guild thing or do some sort of action to get them to be in the pool, but then from the pool, somebody on the income action having to decide to put those guys out that are there. What did you think of that?
Unless you focused on it, that was a part of your strategy. I don't care about any of them. Filling out a row, getting 2 pelicans used, those are different types of points that you're going to get from those. And it does add up a little bit if you want to focus on it because you are not doing it just once. So if you do, it's part of your tactic, fine. It's not part of mine. I have other things I like to focus on, but I can see it being viable, because if it only did it once, it wouldn't be viable at all because it's not that many points. But if you're doing it 3 times I think you're doing it 3 times in a 2-player game. Yes, that is correct. That can add up. If you're the one focusing on it and no one else is, boom, there's a bunch of points that just got added to mine.
Right.
And when I do my income, I'm going to make sure I spend that 10 coins to add that another patrician if I can.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that too. I feel the same. I mean, it's interesting too how it'll benefit. You got to think about, if I throw another one out there, it's just going to give him more points. I know we both have these criteria. Maybe I should try to differentiate myself, and that kind of I think also helps point you to the diversification of the game. So, anything you really didn't like and that you haven't already said about you?
Oh yeah, I think a little bit negatives here and there. I guess one of the biggest negatives is at the beginning of the game is kind of playing itself to me. Yes, I needed the plot. Yes, I needed the rights. Then I needed to build. So it's like the structure that I couldn't just say, I want to build now. You can't. You gotta get the rights. You gotta get the plot. There's no way around that. You have to do those actions first. So it kind of plays itself for the first few turns. I already know what I'm going to do. It's not going to be, oh wow, you're gonna do that action first. I'm not gonna do income. I'm not gonna build. St. Barbara, I don't know a pelican. I'm not gonna do St. Barbara. Boom! I just eliminated 3 actions. I can't even do them. So now I have very limited options. The game is playing itself for me. I don't like that at all about any game, not just this game. If the game plays itself for a while, you know what? You know what I want to do in a 2-player game. You can't even take it from me. So. You can technically just say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I want that one, and I want to be over here. So I'll be back.
Right. Yeah,
so
I thought about that actually when I did go to the bathroom to tell you. Yeah.
And what are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
I don't want to pull out there. Yeah. I don't have the color that matches, so you can have it. You're not going to take things out of spite, really, because you need points. It makes no sense to say, I'm going to sacrifice my points to make you go to a different spot where you'll still get points. So...
I thought that.
Like gray, you have a gray and a blue. Okay, I take your gray. Well, then I go to blue. It only hurt you. It didn't hurt me. So, anyway, the game does play itself a little bit in that regard. The mining is okay. I don't mind it. I really don't. Beginning of the mining, again, is lackluster because you draw one and that's it. That's the one you get. So now just put it somewhere.
On the ladder.
Yeah, you have to put it in a ladder. You have 2 ladders, but you draw one. It's not like I get to pick. This is the one. This is it. It has no stars. Oh well.
Yeah.
All right.
Same. Same stuff. I mean, I don't mess with the mines too much. I'm in there a little bit, just trying to maybe raise up my mining if it's going to help me. If I see the multiplier high, and I'm like, it'll give me money on income. But
another negative, I guess, is. At first, you're not going to really understand the economy of this game. It doesn't really it's not intuitive. It's not like you're just buying bread, so then bread becomes, more valuable or whatever, and then selling it then becomes less valuable. It's not like that, like in clans. it's harder to grasp, I guess.
Mhm.
Then you realize, okay, if I build too many of these guilds, then this one's going to go down. It's different. It's very clever. I love it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love these things. I love how it's not static. It is dynamic.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool idea, and it was very thoughtful. I'm just saying that it's not all that intuitive, especially for new players.
You can't predict it, and that could be really challenging for someone to know what can they anticipate to pay for something.
Yeah,
or
it's not intuitive because I can build a mine and the population goes up because I guess people moved in, but population went up. Well, I didn't want to pay more for the wood or whatever, but I don't know. There was just.
I love when you made it cheaper for me to build. Ha ha ha! Suddenly it goes from 14 to 7 coins for me to put out something. Like, thank you. Yeah. So unpredictable. Didn't know that was going to happen. Stuff like that. Sometimes you cry. Sometimes you smile.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. All right. Scores. I think we've said a lot about this game.
Want me to go first?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. So I like the actions. I like playing it. There's things I didn't like, so you're going to get a solid score of 7-3 for me. Not one of my favorite games. I thought it was solid, though. I think it's clever. Like I said, I really like those tracks. I think that's something innovative, new. I haven't seen it before. I love the components. I love the graphic design. I love how it is fairly easy to teach. It's not that bad. So there you go.
Yeah.
7-3.
I'm higher than you. I'm giving it an 8.6.
Wow, you like this one?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's fun. I enjoy. I just like the actions I'm doing, and I don't find it too challenging to get into. When we played it last, which was yesterday, we had got off of playing another game where we were constantly flipping through the book. So to go from that experience to then go to here, where I felt, even though we hadn't played it in a little while, I was able to jump right in. So that was good for me.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this review of Kutna Hora. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please click the thumbs up, and subscribe for more great reviews. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.